team. I'm at Montgomery Blair High School. Some of you may have heard from me already because I've been a big anti-curfew advocate. But I first have a few questions, and then I'm going to be asking directly for people who have come out pro-curfew to defend their position. First off, I'd like to clarify. Someone mentioned that part of the basis of this bill is that DC and PG have curfews. I'd like to clarify that DC and PG have curfews that don't work. So here's a study from University of Maryland about the DC curfew. Didn't work very well. And PG County, an Urban Institute study showed that the impact on the target group in any way was completely statistically insignificant. It also showed that victimization on all age levels was insignificant, reduction that is of victimization. And that hotspots and clusters of victimization during curfew hours remained markedly stable. So, not sure about that. But specifically, I'd like to give you some food for thought before I call out those who are pro-curfew. Officer Carter from Silver Spring, and I commend his work as a police officer, but we've had a bit of some confrontations in terms of our opinions on the curfew. In a Washington Post editorial, I won't go into some of the questionable things he talked about, but something he did mention that caught my eye was that this would not be, it said the kids who are engaging in normal weekend activities will not be subject of a teen witch hunt. I beg to differ. I'd like to prove that I think this is a form of witch hunt. There are three aspects of a witch hunt which I think this fulfills. The first being paranoia is what starts a witch hunt. That is, people are afraid and they want a solution. They're not particularly concerned if that's an effective one. I think that's definitely present given how much we've been throwing around these cases of, for example, things being stolen from 7-Eleven. As I heard someone say, are youth rights in this county really worth $450 worth of stolen chips? Maybe they are. Now, number two, witch hunts target a potentially innocent group and one with little power. I know youth as a whole, I mean, you're doing this, thank you for doing this to give us a chance, but generally we don't have a vote, we're often trampled on. Specifically, people are concerned about racial profiling. I know immigrants, minorities often get trampled on. I fear that this may happen. And number three, what a witch hunt does, most markedly, is it doesn't solve the problem. But what it does do is it pacifies people. It makes people feel like we're really doing something to solve the problem. And that, I think, is the most evident thing, because we're talking about this curfew, and there's about one study out there that shows that curfews work, and about a dozen that show that they don't. And on top of that, there are all these questions about implementation. So, for Congress, Councilmember, Vice Councilmember Elrich, Councilmember Riemer, the three who I think have come out most publicly pro-curfew, I'd like you to defend that you care more about not just about your election results, but also about crime, and that you think this will actually solve the problem. Thank you.
Councilmember Riemer, I think you've been called out, sir. Well, you know, on the last point you made, I don't know that this gets me any votes. It probably loses me a vote for every vote it picks me up, so not a political winner. But that's not what I'm doing. That's not, first of all, what I'm considering it, or it's not driving my decision on the issue. I'll say a few things. I mean, first, as anyone who has followed my comments on this issue knows, my initial reaction was negative. And as I thought about it more, I began to change my mind and have said many things that are strongly supportive of the curfew. And when people have engaged me in direct dialogue on my Facebook page and in other places, I've been articulating reasons that I find to be persuasive for a curfew. It's important to understand my position is that a curfew is not a singular solution, and that it is really not, by any stretch, the most important policy that we would put into place to address crime and victimization of young people. And the council is reviewing a range of youth services that we need to address. And I think that, you know, in last year's budget, the council fought to restore funding for youth services that was proposed for cuts. And, you know, perhaps we could have restored more, but the council has tried to enact policies that have a broader positive youth effect. This is an opportunity to push for more, and that is one of the steps that I'm looking to take. So whether it's addressing how juveniles are handled if they have been cited for a curfew, or whether they have after-school programs, or what kind of gang intervention programs we have, those all are on the table, and they are much more important, I think, in many ways. The next point I would make is that I believe that this is a very, and I know that not everyone will agree with this, but I think it's a modest, it's a proposal with a modest impact. I think the statistical evidence demonstrates that curfews are effective, but only to a small degree. At the same time, I think that it is asking a fairly modest sacrifice from young people, that they would not be in an unsupervised, unstructured environment after 11 o'clock on a weeknight, or after midnight on a weekend. And the exceptions that are in this policy are designed to allow young people to live their lives largely the way that they are living them now. So if you're in theater, if you have a job, if you are visiting a friend, these are activities that you'll continue to be able to do. But if you want to just hang out outside in an urban area, you may not be able to do that. Now, why would I favor that? Because my belief is that this will help young people be safer when they hang out. And I have 2 boys, and I am anticipating that they will come to me with the same requests that I came to my parents with. I want to go downtown and hang out. And I don't want to tell you what I'm doing. And if you ask me what I'm doing, I'm probably not going to tell you the truth. And I think that a lot of parents have to deal with that. And it helps ensure that there is some boundary in place. Because I'm going to let my kids go. I want them to go out. I want them to have a good, fun, exciting life. And I want them to be out downtown doing things that they enjoy to do. And I think if there's just a few modest boundaries in place, then everyone can be a little bit more comfortable with it. So the last thing I would say is, you know, there's been a lot made of, for example, the event at Germantown, the 7-Eleven robbery. I don't think it's true that a curfew would have prevented that robbery from happening. I don't know. It could have, it could not have, we don't know. It's unknowable. But we do know that there were about 30 kids that participated in that. And I think that a curfew would probably have kept maybe 10 of those kids home. And that's 30 lives that have been really changed, I think, for the worse by that incident. And that kind of thing happens regularly. And there's a lot of young people out there who might just decide they're going to go home instead of participating in that next activity. That's going to be the activity that gets them into trouble and damages their life. So this comes from the experience of a young person who wasn't always on the right side of the line, had a great time, and wants to make sure that everybody has the opportunity that I had growing up.
I need to say again, there are strong views across the board, and I know there are a lot of different questions out there. My colleague, Councilmember Floreen, wanted to pose a question to you all with respect to this sort of issue.
Just a quickie. Okay, raise your hands if you're 17 years or younger. Now, keep your hand up if you have a curfew at home today. I mean, if most of you do not have a curfew at home, parents don't say you're being in the lesson. Really? It's very interesting. Thank you.
Ms. Anthony, back to you.